This is Q13 Fox News This Morning.
And good morning. I'm Brian Blakely.
And I'm Kelly O'Connell. Here's what's happening at 5 o'clock on this Thursday. Ed Murray widening his lead in the race for Seattle mayor. In fact, Mike McGinn will hold a press conference in just a couple of hours where we expect him to concede. Live report coming up next.
Yeah, and the wind expected to pack quite a punch today. Wind advisory takes effect in just a couple of hours as a big storm is rolling in.
Yeah, power outages, urban flooding, all a big concern this morning.
Yeah, let's get right to Tim Joyce with more on when this storm is heading our way. Tim.
Well, it's right on top of us right now with bands of some heavy rain moving across western Washington as we speak. The winds pick up a little bit later on this morning, but zooming in on western Washington, you can see those bands of some heavier rain shown in the yellows and the oranges here on the radar picture right over Seattle and King County right now. We're going to see several bands of this all the way through the morning, and it'll taper off slightly as far as the precipitation goes in the afternoon, but that's when the winds are going to pick up. Wind advisory till 8 p.m. tonight, starting at 7 a.m. for most areas around the sound through the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the southeast corner of the state, and winter weather in the higher elevations above 3,500 feet till 4 p.m. Temperatures outside, not too bad. We're at 50 degrees right now. Only going to a high today, though, of about 54 for this time of the year. That's only 1 degree above normal for this time of the year. But be prepared for a wet and windy day with all the leaves on the trees. Could see a lot of urban flooding as well. Now here's Adam with the latest on those really wet roads.
Yeah, it's soggy indeed. And this is the day we really do want to watch out for standing water where we've had leaves shake off the trees over the last few days. That could clog some drains and cause some urban flooding. Southbound 5, southbound 405 right now looks to be in okay condition. But I-5 right around the Ship Canal Bridge, this is usually one of those points where we see water starting to collect. So we'll have to keep our eyes close on that one all morning long. 520, I-90 looking okay right now for the floating bridge decks. $1.70 toll in place on the bridge. Valley Freeway and I-5 from 18 up to 516 into South Center. Not a lot to worry about yet, but the chance for hydroplaning this morning is great. Let's keep that in mind too. Kelly and Brian, back over to you.
Okay, thank you guys so much. As they just mentioned, another storm headed our way, so we want to get ready now.
Yeah, this could be a repeat of Saturday's storm that toppled trees, knocked out power to thousands. We've got Jeff Van Zandt live near the Muckle-Teal Ferry dock right now with more on what could be happening there. Ooh, Jeff, looks pretty bad so far.
Yeah, guys, literally in just the last 20 minutes or so, we've really seen this rain pick up and the winds are beginning to gust. But there is going to be a wind advisory in effect beginning at 7 o'clock this morning. That's going to be going all day long until about 8 o'clock at night. And so we could see winds anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 45. And guys, it does feel like we're going to be heading that way. Now, this comes on the heels of another major storm that hit our area on Saturday. That storm knocked over trees and power lines, damaging cars, homes, causing urban flooding and power outages. Now, that flooding is a big concern again today. Heavy rains, again, expected throughout the day, and there's a lot of leaves on the ground. That poses a problem of clogging the drains, leading to, of course, more urban flooding. PUD and DOT crews will be out in force, ready to respond to any problems. But this is where you really need to be proactive. Be prepared for this big storm.
You know, make sure you have the supplies on hand. If you're going to lose power for 5 or 6 hours, potentially, during a storm event, make sure you have the food that you need. Make sure you have a warm room designated in your house. Make sure you have some backup plans. Maybe you have a friend or neighbor you can visit who has power.
I just lost my IFB. Now, this storm is going to be rolling through here fairly quickly, a lot more quick than we saw on Saturday. And for more information on how to be best prepared, head on to the internet and check out takewinterbystorm.org. Guys, back to you.
All right, Jeff, yeah, weather going to cause a lot of problems even for our reporters out there in the field this morning as you see it coming down. Make Q13 Fox News your home for up-to-the-minute weather coverage all year long, and we're going to be tracking this storm as it approaches, and you can always find updates, forecasts, and that sort of thing on our website at q13fox.com. So we got a lot on the line for aviation workers in our area today as a special session gets underway in Olympia.
Lawmakers will be looking at a tentative deal to keep Boeing's production of its newest jet right here in western Washington. So the contract for the 777X wouldn't expire until 2024, giving workers job stability for the next 10 years. But the deal does include some changes to their pension and health care plans. At today's special session, lawmakers are being called to approve a package of tax incentives included in the proposal. Legislators have already started lobbying in support of this deal. Union members will vote next week, and the governor hopes lawmakers will vote as well. The special session gets underway at 9 o'clock this morning. Meantime, though, Boeing workers say this deal doesn't rely on lawmakers. On the union's website, a summary of the deal explains that if the workers approve the plan, the company agrees to assemble the plane here in the Puget Sound. There is no mention of lawmakers approving this plan, nothing at all. One machinist, in fact, telling the Seattle Times political support of the deal is not necessary to bring the work in. A spokesperson for the governor says they're surprised this summary leaves out lawmakers.
Now to the latest on the race for Seattle mayor. New
numbers show that Ed Murray will likely be taking over City Hall. In fact, Mayor Mike McGinn holding a press conference at 10:30 this morning where he is expected to concede. Now, Tom Yaswinski been looking at all the numbers now. He's got the latest on this race and what we can look towards for Ed Murray in office. Tom.
Yeah, guys, so we're here at Mike McGinn's campaign headquarters here in the International District. As you said, it is here at 10:30 where McGinn is holding a news conference. Many expect him to concede this race because this double-digit gap between the two may be too tough for the mayor to tackle. So take a look at the latest numbers. We want to give those to you right now. These are as of yesterday afternoon. You can see that Murray holds still a commanding lead with 56% of the votes compared to just 44% for the current mayor, Mike McGinn. Now, Murray has said that there should only be one mayor at a time, but arguably he's already been acting as the man in charge. He has already met with the city attorney to talk about crime here in Seattle. Public safety will be a top concern for Murray when he takes office come January, if he were to. First things first, he needs to hire a new top cop here in Seattle, and that will happen almost immediately.
As soon as possible. It's key to moving forward with the next thing I want to do, and that is how quickly can we actually satisfy the Justice Department on reforms and actually have a police department that is reformed, that will allow us to move from underneath the consent decree.
Now, Murray says he will cast a wide net in this search for a new chief of police. He will look nationwide for the best candidate. He says he will also look internally as well. You know, Jim Pugil has been the active chief for several months now. But again, we are live in front of Mike McGinn's campaign headquarters. It is here at 10:30 that McGinn is holding a news conference. Again, many believe that he is going to concede this race, but it is still too close to call. More numbers are expected to come in later today, but still Murray holding this double-digit lead. You got to figure that he's going to be the new Seattle mayor. Guys, we're going to have much more on what Murray plans to do. He says safety here in downtown Seattle is going to be a top concern for him. More on that next hour. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, safety always a concern. Thank you there, Tom. We'll check back in with you. And now to the latest results in a couple of other big races that we're following. I-522, that would require labels on genetically modified foods. Right now, that measure is going down in defeat, 54% to 46%. Only King, Whatcom, Jefferson, and San Juan counties voted in favor. The largest margin of defeat was in Garfield County, where 2/3 of the land there is covered by farms. C-Tax Proposition 1, that's the landmark measure that would raise the minimum wage from $9.19 to $15 an hour for airport-related workers at SeaTac. Right now, it is passing by a narrow margin, 53 to 47%. 6,000 workers around the airport would get the raise, and if it passes, it could spark a national debate over wages. A lot of people here watching on the national level. Washington already has the highest minimum wage in the nation. That will increase to $9.32 on January 1st. Currently, the federal minimum wage is just $7.25. National labor unions are keeping an eye on the results as well. Supporters say it's time.
If you have kids at home and you're sick, and or if you have to work multiple jobs, you have no time for your family, you have no time for anybody.
It's sending an incredible message, which is we are tired of waiting for Congress, tired of waiting for corporations to deal with massive income inequality in our country.
Opponents say if they lose, they may challenge it in court. Ed Murray has pledged to raise Seattle's minimum wage to $15 if he is elected mayor. The vote's still being tallied right now, and we'll bring you updated results as they come in today at 4:30. And you can also find all the big races on our website at Q13Fox.com.
Well, you saw it with Jeff and Tom's live shot. The wind and the rain, you could hear the wind on Tom's microphone. It's getting pretty nasty out there. So let's get a check of what's happening right now and what else we can expect later today with Tim.
Yeah, it's inconvenient, bordering on a little bit dangerous weather. Lowland rain up to an inch in some spots. And with all the leaves in the trees, urban flooding could be a problem if those storm drains in your neighborhoods are covered up. And you could just have, in general, standing water on the roadways. We already have that in some locations already. Wind advisory, this is for the coast, the Strait of Juan de Fuca through the San Juans, areas around the Sound as well. 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. could see gusts up to 45 miles an hour. That's actually not quite as strong as Saturday's storm, but it still is pretty windy and could bring down power lines or even branches into power lines. And a winter weather advisory for the North Cascene Cascades as well as northeastern Washington State. 2 to 6 inches of new snow. That's mostly above about 5,000 feet, so it shouldn't really affect all those mountain passes if you wait until the afternoon, and it'll just be wet. And we see a lot of rain right now moving across the region. Zooming in straight towards Seattle. Look at all these areas highlighted in yellow. That's where it's really coming down pretty hard this morning. Right over the I-90 corridor, north end of Beacon Hill, Capitol Hill, just getting drenched right now. And that's the same story over in Bellevue as well. As we zoom things out and take a look at the wind gusts, not quite impressive just yet, but that's going to change as we get later into the day. Right now, wind gusts in Everett shown there in yellow at 17 miles an hour. Temperatures, not a problem. We're actually quite mild this morning at about 50 degrees here in Seattle. And overall, we are watching this storm curl up and move right across the south end of Vancouver Island for today. So we see the tail end of this being most of the wind through the afternoon and into the early evening hours. And around the sound, well, overall, it is going to be kind of a stormy day. Rainy, windy, wind advisory till 8 p.m. Temperatures in the mid-50s. Normal is actually 53 for this time of the year. Again, temperatures in the mid to low end of the 50s, rain and wind for today, and that wind advisory till 8 p.m. and up to the north again. Wind advisory not quite as windy as when you get north of, say, about Marysville, but otherwise still seeing pretty blustery conditions out there for today. The good news is kind of just a one-day deal. Tomorrow, showers, and we do see a possibility for some sun breaks. Getting into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday both have chances of showers, mostly for the coast and the mountains, so we could be having a dry weekend ahead. Monday for Veterans Day does look wet, though, for everybody. Now here's Adam with the very latest on a tricky commute this morning.
Yeah, and this morning we're seeing new troubles developing right in through the south end. Getting reports right now on northbound I-5 closer to 512, watching for a collision that's going to be impacting drivers on I-5. Then north of this on 18 headed eastbound right in the Peaslee Canyon. Take a look at this DOT camera shot. Sifting through some of the darkness and the wetness, there is something here, hard to see, kind of flared out, but you can see the flashing lights. That to be a concern for drivers on 18 right in through the canyon, starting to move in towards Auburn. So that's going to be our second concern, and it's 5:11 this morning, so off to a rough start. North 405, Renton Curves 5 and 99 moving into Seattle. Doing okay as you make your way into the downtown Seattle core. 520 and I-90, smooth sailing across Lake Washington. Looking at a $1.70 toll in place on the 520 bridge. You'll find South 5 and South 405 manageable in through the north, but the chance for hydroplaning is great this morning with so much standing water on the roadways. 32 minutes Everett into Seattle. Currently 20 minutes Linwood to Bellevue, but you probably want to take it even a little slower than that. US 2, I-5 in past US 2 makes some sense right now. Dealing with our state ferries, everybody seems to be on time. Sounder Rail looks to be on time. And again, the only pass of concern is going to be Stevens Pass. With traction tires advised, no oversized loads. Snoqualmie Pass and White Pass, no restrictions. Kelly and Brian, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Adam. Still ahead, parents are really fired up over these new school boundaries, and they voiced their frustration at Seattle's school board meeting last night.
Plus, caught on camera, this meteor screaming across the sky in California. Why we could see more of these soon.